All right, so over 50 and starting to think, huh, maybe my body's playing by some new rules now. Like the old playbook isn't quite cutting anymore. Well, you are not alone.
Not at all. It really is fascinating. Like your body just decides, okay, time for a new game. And the thing is, these new rules, they could be kind of sneaky.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. Not just the usual health tips, we're going deeper, like way deeper. We're talking about those sneaky, almost hidden factors that totally change the game once you hit that 50 mark. Things that honestly most people probably don't even realize are messing with their well-being.
Yeah, it's like those things that were totally fine in your younger years, no problem. But now,
Uh,
uh-oh, they become a big deal.
exactly. And we're going to unpack all that. We're talking potential hidden dangers lurking everywhere, even in your drinking water. We'll
Yeah.
talk about everyday foods that seem perfectly harmless, but actually, well, let's just say they might not be your body's best friend anymore.
Right. It's like suddenly those seemingly harmless things are playing for the other team.
Exactly. So get ready for some serious aha moments, folks. We're going deep. And who knows, what we uncover today might just completely change how you think about your health from this point forward. All right, let's jump right in. And where better to start than with something we all rely on every single day, the water we drink. You turn on the tap, fill up a glass. Seems pretty straightforward, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But the
Yeah.
question is, what else is in that water besides just pure H2O? What's coming along for the ride? And increasingly, research is sort of waving a big red flag about certain things in our water. Things with, potentially some not so great consequences.
Yeah, and this is something that really hit home for me recently. I actually had my water tested, and the results, well, let's just say they were a little eye-opening, specifically for this group of chemicals called perfluorinated compounds, or, PFCs.
PFCs, right?
Okay. One of them, and this is the one that really, made me sit up and pay attention, it's called PFOA, and my results showed it was at a level almost 100,000%. Yeah, you heard that, right above what's considered acceptable. It's like, whoa, hold on, what's going on here? I suddenly have this hidden health risk right there in my own kitchen.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge finding. And sadly, it's not just you. It's actually becoming a more widespread issue. These PFCs, including TFOA, they've earned themselves a daunting nickname, forever chemicals. Because the thing is, they hang around
Mm-hmm.
in the environment, in our bodies, for like incredibly long periods. And because they're so good at making things water and grease repellent, well, they get used in a lot of stuff, nonstick pans, those stain-resistant fabrics, some cosmetics, even cleaning products. So they're kind of everywhere.
And it's not just some abstract environmental thing, right? We're talking about actual risks to our health, especially as we get older.
Exactly. Studies are starting to draw some pretty clear lines between exposure to these chemicals and, well, increased chances of certain cancers, liver problems, kidney problems.
Mhm.
And because they linger for so long, the possibility of these long-term cumulative effects, it's a serious concern, not just for us, but, for future generations too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't just about me. This is about my kid, my grandkids. Their health is at stake too. And
Yeah.
it makes you think about those other things that are accumulating in the environment, like microplastics. That's a whole other, can of
Oh,
worms.
absolutely. It's like another layer of what are we doing to ourselves? Microplastics. Tiny, tiny bits of plastic everywhere. And we're ingesting them. And research is finding them all sorts of places they shouldn't be, even in the brain. And this raises some pretty big questions like, what does that mean for inflammation, for cognitive function, especially as we age? It's a lot to think about.
Okay, so let's get practical for a moment. Someone's listening to this, they're over 50. What's the takeaway here? What can they actually do about this water situation?
Right. All right. So first things first, water filter. But not just any water filter. You want a good one, specifically one that's designed to remove these forever chemicals. They're not all created equal. Look for that specific filtration capability. That's key.
That's a really important point. Okay, so we've covered what we're drinking. Now let's talk about what we're eating, the actual building blocks of our food.
Mhm.
And there's this one mineral that becomes super important as we age, often more than people realize, and that's zinc.
Oh, zinc. It's almost like the unsung hero of aging well. It's amazing how many different things in your body actually rely on having enough zinc, especially as we get older. It's involved in so much.
It really is. And one thing it helps with is maintaining healthy testosterone levels. And I think we all know that tends to decline in both men and women as we age, right? But it goes way beyond just that.
Way beyond. I mean, think about it. Testosterone, It's not just about, certain things. It's also crucial for maintaining muscle mass.
Mm.
And that's huge for strength, for mobility, for your metabolism as you get older. And zinc, it's like the support system for your thymus gland, which is like the heart of your immune system. A healthy thymus means a strong immune response. So important as we age.
And then there's digestion. That might seem kind of separate, but zinc plays a role there too, right? It helps with stomach acid production.
Absolutely. And that's a big one because as we age, the amount of hydrochloric acid our stomachs produce, well, it tends to go down. And if you're already low on zinc, that can make it even worse. Low stomach acid, not good. You can't neutralize those microbes that might be in your food as well. It's harder to digest protein, and you're not absorbing nutrients as efficiently. It's like a chain reaction of, uh-oh.
Wow, so zinc really is a multitasker. Okay, so if it's so crucial, what are some of those things in our everyday diets that might be depleting our zinc levels without us even realizing it?
Okay, so here's where things get interesting. It turns out a lot of things in the modern diet, they're kind of zinc thieves. Refined carbs, starches, maltodextrin, ever heard of that one? It's hiding in a lot of processed foods.
Maltodextrin, yeah, I've seen that on label.
Yeah, modified food starch, another one. And even regular wheat flour. All of these can contribute to zinc depletion.
So it's like those convenient processed foods we all love. They're not just empty calories, they're actively robbing us of essential nutrients.
Pretty much. And while we're on the subject, those same culprits, refined carbohydrates, they're also depleting vitamin B1, which is a whole other issue, especially when it comes to big one blood sugar regulation.
Right, right. Okay, so let's move on to another sneaky egger that I think we all kind of know about, but maybe don't fully appreciate. Sugar. And I'm not just talking about the obvious stuff like, candy bars and soda.
Sugar, yeah. It's a tricky one because it's in so many things. And what's really fascinating is the actual chemistry of how sugar affects aging.
There's this process called glycation. And basically what's happening is sugar molecules are attaching themselves to proteins in your body, like a sticky, almost glue-like coating. And that makes the proteins less flexible, less functional. And over time, these glycated proteins are often called AGEs. They build up. And that contributes significantly to the aging of various tissues. Like think of it like caramelizing onions, right? The sugars change the proteins, make them stiff and less pliable.
That's a really good analogy, actually. And this isn't just about, like, getting a few more wrinkles ready. It's affecting some pretty vital parts of our bodies. Oh, absolutely. There are 4 key areas that are particularly vulnerable to this accelerated aging from glycation. First, your eyes, specifically the lens. This can lead to cataracts. Then there's no surprise, your skin. That's where you see the wrinkles and that loss of elasticity. And then your muscles. They lose power, they become less resilient. And then, this is the big one, your arteries. They start to harden, they lose elasticity. And that, of course, has huge implications for your heart health.
Okay, yeah. That image of sugar basically stiffening our arteries is not a pleasant one.
No.
So what are the foods that really drive this glycation process? What should we be watching out for?
Okay, so anything high in sugar, that's a given. But also, pay attention to how the food is cooked. High heat plus high sugar, that's a recipe for AGEs. So think barbecued meats, those sugary sauces.
Yeah.
Deep fried stuff like donuts, french fries. That combo of sugar and high heat, it really speeds up the formation of those AGEs.
Got it. So it's not just the sugar itself, it's how it's cooked. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about fats. Specifically, industrial seed oils. They're kind of a hot topic these days.
They are, and for good reason. Because we're talking about the types of fats we're putting into our bodies consistently. And these industrial seed oils, things like soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, they're typically very high in omega-6 fatty acids.
Yes.
And that's where the problem lies. Because those oils, they can actually become part of your cell membranes throughout your whole body, including your brain, your nervous systems. Like, imagine your cell walls being built with these fats. It can make the whole structure more, well, fragile.
And once they're in there, in those cell membranes, they're not easy to get rid of, are they?
Not really, no. Research suggests it can take like a year and a half for your body to clear those oils out once you significantly reduce your intake. So they're in there for a while. And the concern is that these refined fats, which can often be oxidized or rancid, because of the processing, they can increase inflammation.
Yeah.
Especially in those delicate brain tissues.
So basically, we could be unknowingly contributing to brain fog and other cognitive issues by using the wrong cooking oils. That's kind of scary, actually. So where are these seed oils lurking? Where should we be looking out for them?
They're everywhere. Deep fried foods, a lot of processed snacks, anything that says vegetable oil on the label, That's usually a seed oil. So yeah, it's definitely something to be aware of when you're eating out or just grabbing something quick from the grocery store.
Right. So, what are some healthier fats we should be using instead, especially when we're cooking at home?
All right, so ditch those industrial seed oils and go for something more traditional, something stable: butter, tallow, lard, olive oil. And then to make sure you're getting a good balance of fats overall, add some fish oil to your diet. It's packed with those omega-3s, which can help replace some of those less desirable fats in your brain and nervous system.
Fish oil. Got it. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about another food that often gets like a health halo, but might need a closer look as we get older, and that's soy.
Soy, yeah. I think the key here is to differentiate. Because we're not talking about whole soy foods. Those can be fine. We're talking about those highly processed, refined soy products, specifically soy protein isolates.
Right, soy protein isolates.
Yeah, there were a lot of things. Protein bars, those meat alternatives, a lot of packaged foods.
And there's some controversy around how those isolates are processed, isn't there?
There is. It comes down to the use of hexane. It's a solvent that's used to extract the soy protein, and there's concern that trace amounts of hexane might be left behind in the final product. What the effects are, that's still being debated. But it's something to consider.
And then there are those anecdotal observations about people who consume a lot of soy protein isolate, right?
Yeah, this is where things get interesting. Because there have been observations of people, on high soy protein isolate diets, and they seem to show signs of premature aging, like thinning hair, brittle nails, dry skin. Some have even reported issues with their gallbladder and liver. Now, this isn't definitive scientific proof, but it does raise questions like, what's the long-term impact of consuming large amounts of these highly refined products? It's something to think about.
It definitely gives you pause, that's for sure. And then there's that story about the soy wings.
Oh, right, yeah. That was an experience. Mistaking those soy-based wings for chicken wings and then feeling awful afterward. Just unwell, fatigued, not good. It definitely makes you realize that some people can have, sensitivities or adverse reactions to highly processed soy.
Yeah. So maybe opting for less refined soy options or just skipping those isolates altogether is a safer bet. Okay, let's talk about something that I think a lot of us over 50 can relate to. Sleep. Or rather, the lack of good sleep. It's like getting a solid night's rest becomes this elusive dream the older we get.
It's so true. And there are a lot of factors at play there. But one thing that can make a big difference, especially for those of us over 50, is magnesium. It plays a huge role in sleep quality.
Okay, so we hear a lot about magnesium, but how exactly does it help us sleep better?
All right, so magnesium is involved in a lot of different things in your body. But when it comes to sleep, it basically helps calm down your nervous system, reduce anxiety, and prepare your body for rest. It also helps with the production of melatonin, which is, the sleep hormone.
And while we can get some magnesium from food, leafy greens, things like that, research suggests that for older adults, a supplement might be necessary.
Yeah, that's right. Because as we age, our bodies sometimes don't absorb magnesium as well, and we might excrete more of it. So supplementing can be really helpful. Magnesium glycinate is a good one, especially in powder form, because it mixes easily with water and it's gentler on the stomach. Taking it before bed can make a huge difference in sleep quality for a lot of people.
And it sounds like, just like with zinc, those refined and processed foods can also mess with our magnesium levels.
Exactly. If you're eating a lot of refined grains, junk food, that can block your body's ability to absorb and use magnesium properly.
Okay, last but not least, let's talk about salt and potassium. For years, the message has been cut back on salt, cut back on salt. But it's not quite that simple, is it?
Not really. It's more nuanced than that. Because instead of just blanket salt restriction, what we really need to focus on is consuming good quality salt, like Himalayan salt, sea salt, in moderation, of course. But here's the thing. Sodium, which is what salt is, it's actually important for older adults because it helps with the production of hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And as we talked about earlier, that's crucial for digestion.
Right, so cutting out salt entirely might not be the best idea, especially as we get older.
Exactly. It's all about balance. And honestly, for most people, the problem isn't too much sodium. It's not enough potassium.
Potassium.
Right. It's so important for so many things. Fluid balance, nerve signals, muscle contractions, and it helps counteract the effects of sodium on blood pressure.
And the recommended daily intake for potassium is pretty high, right?
It is. It's 4,700 milligrams.
Yeah.
And I'd say the vast majority of people, no matter their age, don't hit that target. So if you're over 50, really focus on getting enough potassium-rich foods in your diet. It's crucial.
So we've covered a lot today. We've talked about the importance of clean water, making sure we're getting enough zinc, watching out for sugar and those sneaky AGEs, choosing healthy fats, being mindful of soy, getting enough vitamin K2, prioritizing magnesium for sleep, and finally balancing our sodium and potassium intake. It's a lot to keep in mind.
It is, but it's all about being proactive.
Mm.
Because once you understand these, seemingly small but actually very powerful factors, you can start making choices that truly support your health as you age. It's about taking control, being informed.
So here's a question for everyone listening. Think back over your life, your diet, your lifestyle choices. How many of these things, these seemingly small factors, have been influencing your health all along? And what's one change you can make today, right now, based on what we talked about, that could make a difference in how you feel? It's about those little shifts that add up over time.
Absolutely. It's about taking those insights and turning them into action. What resonated with you the most? What's one thing you can commit to changing? That's where the real power lies.
We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable and maybe even surprising information. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference in your health journey. So keep learning, keep exploring, and keep taking care of yourselves. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe for more healthy inspirations. We're always digging deeper into the topics that matter most for your well-being.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Until next time.